Guys, what's goody? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. I'm your host Isaiah, and it's been a journey, y'all. It feels like the fucking Oregon Trail, to be honest with you. But today we are gonna talk about not being guilty for knowing your worth, and I'll explain that because you know you hear all the time, know your worth, know your worth. But it's so layered and there's so many intricacies that are important when it comes to knowing your worth. And we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to get real with y'all. All right. So if you are driving, seatbelts. That's it. Seatbelts. If you're at home, chill space, hope you're doing okay. Get some water, and we're gonna get into it. All right, stay tuned, y'all. Hey, what's up, y'all? How are you? I haven't asked in a while. How's your heart doing? How's your headspace? Someone I was working with the other day reminded me that I asked that question. It's funny because I was talking to a buddy about that particular question. In my earlier episodes, I forget where I heard it at. It was like, asking someone how their heart is, and it throws people off, right? Because, you ask somebody, hey, how are you? And they're like, I'm good. And it's like, okay, sure, Jan. You know what I'm saying? Asking somebody, how's your heart is a whole different ball game. And, the goal is to not just go around asking strangers, hey, how's your heart? Like, don't do that because, look, I don't know you. I don't know if you got a body in your trunk. Don't just come up to me asking how my heart is. Like, are you trying to take it? Damn it. But like in certain settings, especially with people you're close to, and you feel that you can have that dialogue with, is like, hey, how's your heart doing? And I always present that to you guys. Actually, someone asked me what the color of my heart was on that particular day, and I thought that was like interesting. I was like, oh, okay. What is the color of my heart? And I thought about it the whole day. I was like, what is my heart color right now? Because I've been roaming around, always looking down at all I see. Nah. I've been there's been a lot of thoughts and a lot of things happening as of late, and it all comes back to knowing your damn worth. Y'all, when I tell you, it's been a definite, a necessary awareness and kind of a necessary evil, the importance of knowing your worth. As a person, as a entrepreneur, as a business person, as an employee, there's so many layers to knowing your worth, right? And, like my mom said, she was like, everything is a relationship. Everything is a relationship. Your relationship with your job, your relationship with another person, your relationship with a thing. Everything is a relationship. And even though in your interpersonal relationships, you're not getting paid to be there, people pay you and you pay other people with your communication, your accountability, and your time, right? Those three things, ACT, acronym: accountability, communication, and time. if you don't have one of those things, everything else kind of falls to shit. You see what I'm saying? Um, and it all ties in again to knowing your worth, knowing what works for you, knowing what does not. And for me, speaking for me, as a entrepreneur, knowing your worth is huge. And I say this because you are going to be met with a lot of situations. And if you're not, there may be some guilt attached to knowing your worth. I'll put it out there. Knowing your worth, you may feel guilty at first because you set a certain standard and people may not be able to reach that standard, right? So you feel guilty. Maybe I'm asking for too much, or maybe I'm too rigid, or maybe I'm too this and all that. And I've felt like that for quite some time. A little backstory, even as a trainer in the beginning, I wasn't sure. So I would kind of, do things for free, just to kind of build clientele or whatever the case may be. But here's the thing about doing things for free, y'all. People don't respect you. And when you're working with your friends, it's even more important to have boundaries, because a lot of times your friends and family are ironically the first people that want a discount from you, right? But will pay full price for a stranger's product. But you, hey, you got that discount? And it doesn't make sense. It's never made sense to me, right? Little backstory, starting out as a trainer, like I said, I worked with my friends first because I was like, I'm studying still to get my certification, and, I'm just trying to build clientele, want to actually work with people, see how it goes. When I tell you the communication, and I've always been, if you know me, even if you don't know me, if you've worked with me in some capacity, one of the first things I set in terms of expectations and precedents is communication. I am so big on communication. The reason why is because poor communication throws everything off. Throws off somebody's time, throws off somebody's awareness of what the hell is going on, scheduling, everything. For me personally, communication is huge. When it's not there, it's not just a loss of communication for me, it's also a loss of respect, because what I'm being shown is that, okay, you communicate when it's convenient for you versus when it's necessary. And I don't like that. I do not like that. I don't care how uncomfortable the situation may be. Communication needs to be had. And there needs to be comprehension why communication is so important, right? So starting out in the game, I would train clients for free, or at a lower rate, because I was like, man, I don't want to ask for too much. And, people kind of be like, oh, that's too high, or that's too much, or whatever the case may be. And it's dangerous to do that, because you're literally rejecting yourself so somebody else can accept you. And when you drop your rate, right, you're not just dropping your monetary rate. What you're also doing is lowering your standards, your expectations, everything, just so somebody else can feel comfortable where they are, and giving them access to you with the potential of them not respecting you. So in my years of work, there have been a number of exchanges that stick out where someone did not value my time. Even recently, value my time. Communication was just poor, and accountability just wasn't really there. And the funny thing about it is, when you don't set the precedents, right? You don't stick to your boundaries. You don't hold firm into that. You end up having to deal with the ramifications of somebody else's poor behavior anyways. So you're better off just having standards from the jump. You're better off just having knowing your worth and having that cemented from the jump, right? Like my mom said, everything in life is a relationship. Okay. Everything in life is a relationship, right? And your goal is to go through life and have some decent relationships. Have a decent relationship with yourself, especially have a decent relationship with other people, right? But you cannot be the only person that's willing to have that healthy relationship. You have to be met in the middle, especially if you're willing to go the extra mile. That's what I've learned. And for me, I've understood knowing my worth is so vital. The reason why is because it's a vetting process. When it comes to personal training, when it comes to coaching, I don't care to work with everybody. I'll be real with you. I don't care to work with everybody. Why? Because that's my mental health, right? Also my physical health, right? And also my time, right? Also my reputation. Okay. So knowing your worth isn't just about the price. Sometimes it's about the price you pay working with people who don't value you, who do not value you past their convenience. And that's something that I've really kind of doubled down on recently because, sometimes, like I said, you worry about somebody being upset about your price or telling you that you're too much. Somebody else is telling you that your price is too high. Your price is too high for them. And let that be what it is. Your price is too high for them. If I look at my resume on paper and I just look at the work I've done over the years to be who I am now, and I'm still working my ass off to be a better person, I have every right to have a vetting process. I have every right to have a certain standard when it comes to who I interact with and who I want to work with. I have every right to have a certain rate. The reason why is because I worked to be that person. There's work behind me just being this person. I didn't just wake up one day and be like, yep, this is my standard. This is my rate. And you're like, wait, where is this coming from? Nah, I got history in the game. So I am allowed to have a certain standard. I am allowed to have a certain rate. I am allowed to decide that I don't want to work with certain people moving forward, even if I've worked with them once. So the thing about it, whenever I work with anyone, it's always, you're always just, being mindful of patterns, being mindful of how people work. And like I said, in both settings, as a trainer, as a coach, even when it comes to podcasting, I'll be real with y'all. Even when it comes to podcasting, like I don't accept every invitation. The reason why is because I understand that the invitation is not for me. It's for other people. A lot of times people reach out because they are wanting something from you. It's not what they're willing to give to you. You see what I'm saying? Is what they are seeking from you, not what they're willing to offer up. And that's where there's an issue, which is why, again, knowing your worth is so important. Because if I know my worth, I know what feels good. I know what does not. If I know what my standards are, I know what I am okay with. I know what I'm not okay with. All right. And either people meet you there or they don't. Don't reject yourself so somebody else can accept you, because what you do, again, you allow people to tell you how much you're worth, and then the disrespect kind of seeps in, right? People start treating you however they want on their terms, right? For me, if healthy communication is not existent in some kind of rapport of people that I'm working with, I don't care how much they're paying me. I don't want to work with them moving forward. Communication is a non-negotiable for me. And once your communication lacks, all bets are off. I can't do it. The reason why, like I said, because my time, my energy, right? My scheduling, and even my finances are contingent upon somebody else's communication. So when it's not there, I have a huge problem. And it's not an ego thing. It's just literally it's practical, right? And, shout out to my homie. She said, I understand that there's a difference between business and personal, but how somebody treats my business, I take very personal, because I am my business, right? And I cannot be friends with somebody who doesn't respect my business. Because if you don't respect my business, you also don't necessarily respect me. And vice versa. If you don't respect me, you definitely don't respect my business, right? It's a hand washing the other, okay? And that's something I've been mindful of, which is why I do turn down a lot of clients. And I don't feel guilty about it. I stopped feeling guilty about not letting people treat me however they want. Maybe you might get it off once, but after that, we're good. Because again, there's a difference between an accident and an intentional effort to be neglectful, right? To be dismissive, to not communicate, right? And to have all this information, to know things that you know and decide to still not communicate them. Why? Because it's not convenient for you. You see what I'm saying? When it comes to knowing your worth, you deal with a lot less bullshit. Yes, it may come. I'm not saying that you still won't have these interactions, but the thing is they won't continue longer than they should. You see things for what they are. You see people for who they are and how they move, and you decide from there. This is not what I deserve because this is not how I show up, right? That's like me as a coach, as a trainer, me showing up late, me not showing up at all, me being dismissive with my clients, me not treating my clients with respect and decency, right? What would that say about me? Me not communicating at all, me just kind of leaving people in limbo. And they're relying on me to help them in their lives to some degree. That's shitty. And you know what my reputation would be? Like, oh, Isaiah's, he's a fraud. He's a fraud. So I've learned, even in the past couple of weeks, I've even learned that. I was like, you know what? I'm not lowering my worth for anybody. The reason why is because whether I do or I don't, I still have to take care of me. Why? Because these people are taking care of themselves, quote unquote. Treating me poorly is a byproduct. If treating me a certain way is a byproduct of you taking care of yourself, I don't want to be involved with you in any capacity. Right? Because it's not that deep. And at the same time it is. You know, I'm big on patterns. And I don't necessarily say things out loud. It's just like I observe things and I clock it. Almost every interaction I've had, I just observe. I observe and I clock it. And you have to be that way. The reason why is because I think in what I've understood and what I've learned and what I've been taught is that people are people. People will always be people. You can always expect someone to be exactly who they are. You can always expect somebody to be exactly who they are, and they will eventually show you. Right? That is a no-brainer. You can always expect someone to be exactly who they are. The mistake is thinking that you are dealing with yourself, right? And that's something that used to kind of frustrate me because I'm like, yo, why is this so hard for people to fucking communicate? Especially if you see I'm trying to communicate with you. Why is it so hard for you to communicate? It's not. It's just not convenient or it's not a necessity for somebody. Communication is not complicated. It's not complicated, right? And the whole savior complex. You want to help everybody, but you have to understand the people that are not conducive to your growth, right? And like I said, when it comes to a lack of communication, is literally like this. A mental picture is like this. You have a puzzle, right? You have a puzzle you have to sort out. You have to put this puzzle together. And there's another person that's walking around with puzzle pieces in their pocket. Sometimes they don't know they have them. A lot of times they do know they have them. You don't know if they're going to show up. Like, you literally don't know if this person's going to show up with the puzzle pieces and give you the pieces that you need to make a full picture. But you still have to make a full picture, right? So what do? You try to force pieces together. You try to rearrange the picture. You do whatever you need to do because you still have to make a puzzle. And when I have to make a puzzle without the participation of another person that should be participating in this puzzle being put together, I now have a different narrative. I can only go by what you show me. I can only go by my experiences. You know, the whole giving people the benefit of a doubt thing, it's like I can only give that when there are certain pieces that are put in place. If you're just blatantly ignoring me and being dismissive or just being careless, there is no benefit of the doubt. You show me exactly who you are. And what you've showed me is you lack accountability. You have poor communication skills. Your relationship hygiene is not really up to par, right? And in terms of time management, you don't respect other people's time. And like I said, those are big for me. Action, accountability, communication, and time. If one of those things are not there, everything else is kind of fucked, right? If you feel guilty for knowing your worth, understand why. Even in interpersonal relationships, if I know that I treat people a certain way, and I'm not saying that they have to mirror that to the T, because I am Isaiah. Isaiah is Isaiah, right? I don't expect certain things to be done for me because that's not what I seek from other people. But the bare minimum across the board. The bare minimum is a non-negotiable. You see what I'm saying? So knowing my worth enough, I'm going to feel some type of way. And once I start feeling that, it's like I don't lose sleep. I lose respect. Right? Because what I'm being shown is that there is a lack of reciprocity. There's a lack of intention, right? To how somebody is moving when it comes to me. And instead of constantly getting mad at that other person, the goal now is to redirect the relationship. In business, the same thing. The goal is to redirect the relationship and understand not all money is good money, right? You know, sometimes you run the risk of putting yourself in situations out of desperation where you are mistreated for the sake of making money. The thing about what I do, like, again, podcasting, even in social media, as a trainer, as a coach, I love what I do and I will continue to love what I do. I'll be damned if somebody I work with makes me hate the things that I do. The reason why is because I do this for me and I also do this for others, right? This makes me feel good. Don't ever let somebody else's poor ass behavior take the peace out of what you've built. And that includes yourself. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Observe, process, and pivot. Let somebody show you only once how they move. And maybe you might miss it the first time. Again, because benefit of the doubt, right? You're like, oh, okay, this is a one hang up, whatever the case may be. But twice is too much. Twice is too much. Like I said, we all have 24 hours in a day. And if I'm devoting a portion of that to you, and I really don't know if you're going to show up, or you decide to not show up at all out of necessity, right? Because if it's a partnership or there's some kind of business relationship, whatever the case would be, or even as a friend, if that doesn't happen, I now have to reconfigure where I keep you. And I am always willing to do that before I allow somebody to change how I feel about what I do and the work that I do and what I've built just by me being me. And truth be told, You're trying to take care of all these people. Who's taking care of you? If you lower your standards right now, right? Who's going to show up for you? It's definitely not those people who said that you were too much, because they already told you, look, I'm not willing I can't, or I'm not willing to pay you what you deserve. I'm not willing to do that. So you honestly think when you're shit out of luck, those people are going to show up and look out for you? Absolutely not. Recognize this. If you are a good person, be a good person to yourself. I don't mean be a dick to other people, but I mean be a good person to yourself, because I'm going to tell you right now, in my line of work, I realize how self-centered people can be. How ungrateful people can be. How neglectful people can be. On the flip side, I've had some beautiful exchanges. There are some people I've worked with, and I am so grateful to have worked with. Why? Because there's a sense of peace on both sides. And I love that. I take my work everything that I do, I take very seriously, in the sense of I really don't try to half-ass. I don't half-ass my work, and I definitely don't half-ass people, right? I really do my best to not half-ass people. Why? Because I've been on the receptive end of it, and it does not feel good. 1, 2, it's just not how I operate. But not everybody is me, and I'm not everybody. So therefore, I have to take care of Isaiah the best way I know how. What does that look like? Knowing my damn worth, having boundaries, having standards, and not allowing everybody to have access to me, because everybody having access to me is not good for me. It's not good for me. For somebody to tell you that you're too much, show me one person who's walked into a Ferrari dealership and was like, hey, do you guys have a discount? This is too much. Show me somebody who walks into even an Apple store and says, hey, do you guys have a discount? This is too much. No. You walk into that store, you know how much this is. You figure out a way to pay up, because you know what? It's like, this is the price. I don't argue it. I have to meet this product where it is, versus me telling the product where to meet me. And that's how you have to be about in life. Yes, it's hard, right? I'm not saying it's cut dry and easy, but I will say this. You deal with a lot less shit when you know your worth and when you set the standard kind of high. The reason why is because you're not constantly dealing with people who are not going to treat you properly. And even if you have maybe one exchange or maybe two, you don't deal with it moving forward. And like I said, I am always observing, 1, how I feel, but also 2, what the exchange looks and feels like with another person. And then I decide from there, do I want to continue working with them? Not so much. Or do I want to continue to feel like that? Nope, I definitely don't. So I pivot. Or things kind of happen in the way that they do, where it just stops. But one thing I tell you, without accountability, communication, and time management, right? Somebody being mindful of your time and theirs. If one is missing, everything else is fucked. Do not feel guilty for knowing your worth. The reason why is because people will not feel guilty for how they treat you. And if they do, they will avoid you versus holding themselves accountable. So either way, it still falls on you to take care of yourself. So take care of yourself the first time. You guys feel me? Never apologize for knowing your worth. And don't you dare reject yourself so somebody else can accept you, because truth be told, they're not accepting you. You know what you do. You know how hard you work. You know what kind of person you are, right? You know what you've been through up until this point. You know that. You don't need to explain that shit to anybody else, right? You know it. Know it well, just so you can recognize if it's showing up in different relationships and different exchanges moving forward. And that's in business, right? As an employer, right? In a relationship, in your friendships, in family, clock it. Don't you dare let somebody else tell you what you deserve, especially if it's less. See how people move and then move out of their way if necessary. And don't you dare go back to a situation that you had to heal from. Somebody left you with a puzzle and they have the pieces. Tell them, you know what? I'm going to do another puzzle. I'm good on you. I'm good on this one. And you let it be what it is. It doesn't have to be any animosity, but understand how much you have to recover from when somebody decides to treat you poorly, which is why knowing your worth from jump will keep you out of a lot of low level situations. And even if you do experience it, you won't stay there too long. Not out of desperation. You'll figure it out. All right. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And yeah, just take care of yourselves, because knowing your worth is a lot deeper than just saying it. It's a practice. It's a belief system. Okay? Take care of yourselves. And please take care of each other. All right? Take flight.